This is ENP Level 1, first week, second day. And the name of the unit is Are You Ready? Now, in our first week, as you know, our first day is always devoted to student assessment and registration and surveys. So even though this is the second day, it's really your first teaching day. So I'm going to walk you through writing a lesson plan for this unit. Here is my teacher's guide for ENP Level 1 and my student book, my lesson plan form, my pacing guide, and I'm right here. First week, second day. I also have my writing utensils, my handy little stack of sticky notes. As you know, I love to write little notes to myself as I plan. I've got my computer so we can go look online in a few minutes for any activities that we might want to do that go with this unit. And I'm going to read carefully my pacing guide, which says I'm going to do unit opener, lesson 1. So actually I'm working on pages 10 through 14. Today I don't have any homework to check because we didn't have a class the previous day. I'm going to start with the attendance and the calendar, of course. I'm going to pick up their SRFs and surveys and monies, but somebody from RALC will be there to do all that. So all I have to focus on really is getting my lessons ready. So I'm going to start by looking in my teacher's manual and marking the pages I'm going to do. I'm going to work from page 10 through page 14, and the teacher manual pages correspond with the student pages. So page 14 in my teacher manual is also page 14 in my student book. So I know those are the pages I'm going to do. So I'm going to put a little sticky note here at the end of my section so I know how far to work. And then I'm going to look through and see what they're expecting the students to learn in this lesson. It says we're going to have vocabulary on days of the week and months of the year and weather. Here's what we're learning about this unit. We're going to learn transportation words. We're going to learn how to follow directions. We're going to learn about school supplies and money. And then we're going to talk about subject pronouns with be, contractions with be, possessive nouns and adjectives, and need to, and plurals of regular nouns. Pronunciation is going to be syllable stress, and the culture is class rules in the U.S. Now, I know that I'm only teaching this day, so I'm not going to cover all of this in my lesson. I'm going to cover what's covered between pages 10 and 14. But that gives me an overview of what the students are going to be learning in this unit, and that helps me think about how I need to address the things that are on my part of the lesson. So I'm looking at my lesson plan, my teacher's edition book, and there's lots of great ideas along here of things to do and ways to introduce this page. I see our vocabulary on page 11. Then we're going to talk about getting to work or school on time on page 12. And we've got some more vocabulary that has to do with weather on page 13. And it looks like they're going to talk about how you might get to school, because here's a picture of driving a car, riding a bike, taking a bus, a train, or walking. There's my grammar. And then on the last page, we have some fill-in-the-blank activities. All right, So now I have a pretty good idea of what we're covering on these pages. I'm going to take my lesson plan page and I'm going to write the date here, which is going to be September the 12th, that I'm going to teach this lesson. My unit is the warm-up unit. Are you ready? And I'm teaching the unit opener, so where it says lessons, I'm writing unit opener and lesson 1. That's what I'm working on for my part. Materials needed, I don't know, because I haven't planned my lesson yet, so I'm going to leave that blank. Review, this is where I would write in whatever homework they had from last time. But since this is the first day, I'm going to put NA. We don't have to review anything there. I'll probably, for what will substitute for review for me in this lesson will be talking about their names and introducing myself and asking for their, were you here on the first day? Have you been in this, taken one of these classes before? That kind of thing. I'm reviewing what I know about them, and they're telling me what they know about the classes. Lesson opener. Now the lesson opener is something that you're going to do with your class to get their attention about whatever they're going to be learning about. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, we're talking about the months of the year and the days of the week. So you might do something with that for your lesson opener. You might start with, like, what's your birthday? When we won't ask anybody to say how old they are. So you might use that for a lesson opener because everybody always wants to talk about themselves and you want to learn some about your students as well. I think I'm going to use this page. He's enrolling in school. It looks like he's having to fill out a form. And I know that my parents have just enrolled their students in school, and they had to fill out forms. So I think I'm going to put on here, I'm going to discuss emergency forms, because when they enroll their students, they have to fill out a form for the school to contact them in case their child is sick or has an accident or something at school. And it also tells who can pick up their child. So I know that's something they have to know how to do. I'm going to put that down, and when I go to the school on my first day, I'm going to walk by the office and I'm going to say, can you give me an example of the emergency form that you fill out? They have them in the office, and they actually have them in English and Spanish. So I might pick up a couple of each one. Those are going to be my lesson opener activities. I'm going to put these out on the table for when the students come in, and then we're going to talk about what they are, what they're used for, how you fill it out, that kind of thing. So that's going to go on my lesson opener. Vocabulary, we've already talked about that. We read it here, and then I can see it here on page 11 and also on page 13, and that looks like vocabulary is months, days, weather, time, and this is personal information, address, area code, city, name, phone. So they're using this to fill out their emergency forms. So we're going to talk about personal information as well. And I might write on here page 11 and page 13, just so I know where I'm going to find those in the book. So that's my lesson plan so far. Remember, we've skipped materials because we're not sure what we're going to put there yet. Lesson of the day concepts. And this is where I'm going back to my outline here, my overview of what we're learning. And I'm looking on the pages to see what it is our concepts are. So it looks like our grammar concept, and I always like to label what they are. It's not necessary, but I'm very OCD that way. So I say, okay, this is a grammar concept. It's using to be, the verb to be. And subject pronouns. So they're hitting them with quite a bit right off the bat. Hopefully this will be review for some of them. And then also contractions. There is some pronunciation that they're going to learn in this unit, but it's not, none of it is falling on the day that I'm going to teach, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so grammar, I've done. Life skill. And that's going to be where I'm going to write providing personal information and filling out a form. Now I'm down to the part where it says activities. This is usually what I spend the most of my time thinking about when I'm doing my lesson plans, because I want to be sure that I'm doing something that engages the students, that it's something that's relevant to what they're learning. In other words, it's going to reinforce their vocabulary, or it's going to help them practice the grammar skill. And I also want to be sure that it's something fun. You know, there's no point in bringing everybody together for 2 hours and all of us sitting there. No, we're going to have fun while we're here. So I'm going to think about some things that we might do that will actively engage them, but will be fun for the students as well as yourself. Because, you know, if you're bored, the students are bored. And if you're having a good time, chances are good they're having a good time as well. So I've thought a little bit about this already. I usually like to do something with the vocabulary. My favorite things to do are bingo, ball toss, hot seat, or game show with the vocabulary. You can also do crossword puzzles. Those are fun. But I wouldn't start with a crossword puzzle because that's a little more advanced skill for them. So I think I'm going to start with bingo because that's super easy. You just read the word, they find it on their card, they cover it up with a little sticker or bean or whatever you've got to have them cover it with. So I'm going to put, for one of my activities, I'm going to play bingo with vocab on page 11. And remember, you've got an online site where you can go make the bingo cards. That's what I'm going to use. It's called bingobaker.com, and you have it on your little bookmark that you got at the training. It'll tell you where to go and what the password is and how to get in there, and you can make any kind of bingo game that you want. Alright, so I've got one idea that I'm going to use, but I have two vocabulary lists, and this one over here is about time, weather, and transportation. So I think another thing that I want to do with this unit is a T-chart, because I want to really introduce them to a T-chart right off the bat. We're going to be using it the whole semester, and it's a super easy thing to do. So I'm going to do a T-chart activity, and I'm going to have them, I'm going to make it drive or walk. So I'm going to ask them, do you drive to class here at this school? Which a lot of them do. Or do you walk? Which a lot of them also do because it's their neighborhood school. So I'm going to make a T-chart, which looks like this. That's why it's called a T-chart. It looks like a T. And on one side I'm going to write walk. And on the other side I'm going to write drive. And then I'm going to ask them to come up and put their names. Then we can count, we can compare, and it gives me a chance to learn their names better, and it gives them, the other people in the class, chances to learn their friends' names as well. And it gets them up and out of their seat in a very non-threatening way. Everybody knows how to write their name, no matter what country they came from or how much education they had. So we're going to do a T-chart with the vocabulary words on page 13. Now, another thing I like to do when I'm talking about activities is I like to go to our website, also on your little bookmark, and see what activities they recommend. So I'm going to go to New Readers Press. I'm going to go down to Core ESL. I'm going to choose English No Problem. And I'm going to click on Free Resources. Now, these are all the resources for all the levels that they have. So I'm going to look through here because I know I'm working with level 1. So here we go. English No Problem. Book 1, Reproducible Masters. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to bring up their 71 pages of Reproducible Masters. And I'm going to go to the ones for the first unit. So my unit is the warm-up unit. Are you ready? And then I'm going to look up here and see, is this an activity that's suggested for the pages that I'm working on? This one says use after lesson 1, page 14. So back to my pacing guide. Oh yeah, here I am. I'm teaching lesson 1, and I'm teaching through page 14. So this would be a great activity for my students to do. It's interactive. They are practicing, okay, days of the week, weather, time, and vocabulary of time. Early, late, on time. Great. I think I want to do this activity. They're going to have to get up and walk around, and they're going to have to use these to make sentences with. I'm not sure exactly how this page works. So I'm going to go to my directions for using the masters, which is also here. But you'll get a copy of this when we pass out your pacing guide. But in case you lose it or you wonder where it came from, it's here at the beginning, right here. So you can always print out another one, or just go up here and read the directions without printing it out. And each master has a direction. So it says right here, cut out the cards and give one to each learner. Okay, learners circulate, find others with the same number, and form a group. Each reads the information on their card, and together they add what's necessary to make sentences following the model. Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. And they've got lots of clues there. So if I'm in group 1, I'm going to say, her name is Sarah, or my name is Sarah. It's Monday. It's rainy. And I'm late because I'm supposed to be at class. I've already read this to them that says the class starts at 8:30. So they're going to look on the clock and see it says 8:45. Uh-oh, she's late. So there's lots of sentences that they can put together. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5. There's 20, not counting the 1, which I'm probably going to use for the example. So here's our other squares, enough for up to 20 students. I'm not going to have more than 20 students, so I'm going to make a copy of that, and I'm going to use that for another active engagement activity. That says Master 11. So I'm going to put Master 11. Now, I know what I'm doing for my activities. All I have to do now is look at that and go up here and see what materials I'm going to need. I'm going to need bingo, and I'm going to need some kind of markers. So I'm going to put chips. We've got some extras here if anybody wants them, but you can make them out of just about anything. Tchart, I don't need any materials for because I'm just going to draw this directly on the whiteboard and then erase it when we're finished. You could make one in advance if you wanted to bring it in on a piece of paper or your laminated chart paper, but I find it just as easy to just do it directly on the whiteboard while I'm there. Then I can erase it and I don't have to carry anything back and forth with me. And I need Master 11, so that's going to go on my materials needed. Now, sometimes you need one for each student, sometimes you need one for every 2 students. This one looks like, because we're cutting it into squares, that I really only need 1 copy of that because 1 copy is going to work for 20 students. So I'm just going to put Master 11, 1 copy. Yay! I'm almost finished now. I'm down to literature. That's on my pacing guide, and it looks like I'm going to read the Book of Seasons. Such a fun book, and it's going to go right along with our vocabulary because we're talking about weather this time. Extra practice. I'm going to assign workbook pages 4 through 6. And since this is my first time to assign homework, I'm probably going to open that book up with my students and talk to them about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. After we've done homework or extra practice for a few days, I may not do that anymore. I may say, these are your pages, and they may flip through them, questions. But the first time, I'm probably going to be pretty conscientious about talking them through exactly how to do it and going over it with them so they know what to do when they get home. And my expectations that they're going to bring it back the next time and we'll check it together. Down here on notes, I'm going to put myself a note that says make bingo game, because I don't want to forget that. Even though I have it up here on materials needed, a lot of times I'll just look at that like the day before as I'm packing my bag to take it in. So I need to remember I've got to make that game. And you know, once you've got it made, then you have it. And we probably have some extra copies here too if you want to check it out. We've got that. Alright, I think I'm finished. I'm going to check my pacing guide against my lesson plan. I've got down all the pages that we're supposed to cover. I've written down our literature book, which is going to be in my materials box, so I don't have to worry about bringing that. It'll already be there. I know I'm going to stop in the office and get some emergency forms. So you know what? I think I'm going to take a little sticky note right here and on my lesson plan, just to make this flag, I'm going to put stop in office. And I'll notice that bright blue, and that'll tell me, oh yeah, I need to stop and pick up some of those emergency forms so we can talk about them. And then in my lesson plans, either on this page or on this page, and actually I tend to use this in the classroom with the students. I use this for planning because it has lots of good ideas in it that I can read about and think about things I might want to do. But when I'm actually teaching the class, I tend to use this one so I can be looking at what they're looking at as well. And in order to remind myself what I'm going to do on that page, I'm going to take a sticky note that says bingo, and I'm going to write it. I'm going to stick it right here so I know after we review all that, look at all that vocabulary together and talk about it, we're going to play bingo. I don't want to forget that. And then over here, to reinforce this vocabulary, I'm going to do the Tchart. So I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm supposed to, at the end of page 14, I'm going to do the master. So I'm going to put that right down here, master 11, because I get so busy teaching and talking that sometimes I don't remember that I had a really fun activity for us to do right there, and I'd forgotten it. Okay, now I'm going to check back and make sure that I've covered all the elements I need in my lesson plan. Reading. Okay, so we've got reading. We're going to read about Tomas trying to enroll in school. We're going to read about him being late to school. Okay, I got that. Writing. We're doing some writing on this page. This is fill in the blank writing, which is more like for sentence structure and grammar, but I want them to be doing something creative as well. But look at this activity. Draw a picture of you going to school and write about today. So they've got 4 lines here. When I did this last year with my students, I made a real simple stick figure, and I wrote a couple of lines. Today is the first day of school. I met new friends. It was fun. Very basic to model for them, something that they could write, and then they read their sentences, the ones who wanted to shared them. So I've got writing. Speaking. Where is my speaking? Okay, let's see. All right, I've got some speaking here at the bottom of page 11. I've got some, class chat right here on page 13. And then, of course, I've got Master 11. There's going to be a lot of talking with that. And then listening. So my listening activity is going to be, okay, think and talk. Oh, here's some more talking. Gathering your thoughts. Listen. Here we go. So we've got a short thing here that I'm probably going to have somebody read this. So they're going to be listening about that. And then I'm going to have them read these, which will be reading and listening. And then primarily our listening activity is going to be our Book of Seasons. And, you know, the first time I introduced our reading literature, I talked to the parents about how important it is for them to read to their children, and that it can be intimidating, but I've picked out some books that I'm going to show them this year that are great to use with kids, and they're not difficult books. Most of the books that you'll be sharing with your students will be ones that they can read with their own children. They're pretty much at the same level as the class that we're teaching. And it's your opportunity to model for them what they would be doing with their children, and to expose them to some great literature, and just to have a lot of fun with it as well. So when you're introducing that to your students, just let them know, hey, you know, good literature comes in all levels, and we're going to have some fun reading together this year, and I'm going to share some good books with you that I know about. So I think I have everything ready to go. The next step will be I'm going to go make my copies. I'm going to make my bingo game, and I'm going to gather everything. Usually I have a folder that says current lesson plans, and I'll put this in it, and I'll make sure I have all my materials together. And I will see you when we get ready to teach this lesson.